In the world of WWE, every wrestler carries a story of glorious victories, unseen tragedies, and the legacy they leave behind when they're gone. But behind those legends are their children, the ones who must keep living in the immense shadow of their fathers. Some chose to follow in their footsteps inside the ring, while others walked entirely different paths. Yet, all of them carry within their hearts both pride and an unhealed sense of loss. Today, let's take a look at their journeys, how the sons and daughters of these fallen icons are living their lives now. Let's get started. Wrestling Sphere, go! 1. Chris Benoit, the children who stepped out from the shadow of tragedy. Before 2007, Chris Benoit was one of the most respected professional wrestlers in the world. Known as the Rabid Wolverine, he was celebrated for his flawless technique, incredible endurance, and unbreakable will. Benoit famously defeated Triple H and Shawn Michaels to capture the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania XX, where he and Eddie Guerrero embraced in the middle of Madison Square Garden, a moment forever etched as one of WWE's most emotional scenes. Yet behind every powerful suplex and diving head, but hid countless undetected concussions, later revealed to be the cause of severe CTE, a condition that slowly robbed him of control over his own mind. On June 22, 2007, Benoit was scheduled to fly to Texas for the Vengeance Night of Champions event. He never showed up. As the show went on without him, concern grew. 3 days later, police arrived at his home in Fayetteville, Georgia, and discovered a horrifying scene. His wife Nancy and their 7-year-old son Daniel were found dead, with Bibles placed beside them. Benoit had taken his own life shortly after. Within 72 hours, one of wrestling's greatest icons had become the center of one of the darkest tragedies in sports history. The death of Chris Benoit sent WWE into an unprecedented crisis. The company immediately erased his matches, images, and name from its programming. Health policies were tightened, unprotected chair shots to the head were banned, and WWE gradually shifted toward a PG rating to regain public trust. More importantly, the tragedy brought global attention to the dangers of brain trauma in professional sports. Dr. Benoit, the same neuropathologist who studied the brains of NFL players, examined Benoit's brain and found severe damage consistent with that of an 80-year-old man suffering from Alzheimer's. The findings shocked the sports world, forcing major organizations to rethink safety standards and concussion protocols for athletes. But behind that global outcry were the two people who bore the deepest scars, Benoit's children from his first marriage, David and Megan. When the tragedy struck, David was only 14, and Megan was 10. They returned with their mother to Edmonton, carrying a last name that had suddenly become toxic in the wrestling world. For nearly a decade, both lived quietly, staying completely out of the public eye. Years later, David began to reappear, carrying not just his father's bloodline but also the desire to redeem the Benoit name. He trained in independent wrestling gyms across Canada, attended backstage events to learn from veterans, and dreamed of one day debuting under his real name, a decision that drew both admiration and concern from fans. In 2014, Heart Legacy Wrestling announced David's in-ring debut alongside Chavo Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero's nephew and one of Chris Benoit's closest friends. But before the match could happen, Chris Jericho intervened, advising that David needed more proper training before stepping into the ring. The bout was cancelled, a reminder that legacy alone could never replace preparation and experience. Later, David spoke publicly for the first time on Dark Side of the Ring, describing the experience as releasing 13 years of pain he had kept locked inside. That appearance marked the start of his healing journey, not just to honor his father's memory but to reclaim a part of his own life that tragedy had taken away. Today, David works as a welder in Alberta's oil industry. He still trains and wrestles occasionally, holding on to the dream that one day the Benoit name can return to the ring, this time without hatred attached to it. Unlike her brother, Megan chose a life of peace and privacy. She earned a teaching degree, became an elementary school teacher, and has stayed far from the media spotlight. A family member once said, "People talk about David a lot, but they forget Megan. Sometimes real strength is found in silence." Two siblings, two paths, one striving to reclaim their family's honor, the other seeking peace away from the noise. One faces the past through resilience, the other heals through quiet grace. No matter which direction they take, both will always live under the shadow of the Benoit name, a name that once shone brightly before collapsing into tragedy, leaving behind one of the most painful legacies in WWE history. 2. Hulk Hogan, the WWE legend and the journey of his two children, Brooke and Nick. The story of Brooke and Nick Hogan didn't begin under the bright lights of the wrestling ring or in front of roaring crowds. It began quietly in a beachfront mansion in Clearwater, Florida, where Hulk Hogan, the immortal legend of WWE, once dreamed of raising his two children in peace, away from the chaos of fame and scandal. But life in the spotlight is rarely calm. While the world saw Hulk as a real-life superhero, his children had to grow up in the shadow of fame, pressure, and the cracks that formed behind the illusion of a perfect family. Brooke Hogan. Brooke Ellen Beaulieu, born in 1988, is the eldest child of Hulk Hogan and Linda Claridge. She grew up surrounded by luxury, in a home that seemed picture-perfect, until television cameras began capturing every corner of their private life. In 2005, VH1 launched Hogan Knows Best, a reality show centered around the Hogan family, with Brooke as the teenage daughter of a global wrestling icon. The series quickly became a cultural phenomenon, making the Hogans one of the most talked-about families on American TV. Yet behind the laughter and staged happiness was a young woman struggling to define herself outside her father's towering legacy. At just 14, Brooke signed her first recording contract. While many assumed it was handed to her because of her last name, she genuinely possessed musical talent. She trained in vocal performance, learned songwriting, and worked tirelessly to earn recognition for her own ability. Her debut album, Undiscovered, 2006, reached the Billboard 200, and her single About Us, featuring rapper Paul Wall, peaked at number 33 on the Billboard Hot 100. The success allowed her to tour with major pop acts like Hilary Duff and the Backstreet Boys, proof that she was stepping out from her father's shadow. But fame can be a double-edged sword. After the reality show ended, Brooke faced isolation and emotional burnout. She later admitted, "I feel like I lost an entire decade of my youth because there was always a camera watching. I couldn't tell what was real and what was staged anymore." In 2007, as the Hogan family fell into turmoil, Brooke stepped away from show business. She moved to Nashville and worked as a hotel server at the JW Marriott for 6 months, not out of financial need, but because she longed for a normal life. "It was the freest time of my life," she recalled. "No makeup, no script, just me being real." That experience awakened a new passion in her: interior design. In 2018, Brooke founded BB Designs by Brooke, specializing in custom home and artistic space design. Her business gradually grew, proving that Hulk Hogan's daughter didn't need a stage or studio to shine. In 2022, Brooke married former NHL player Steven Alexi. 3 years later, she gave birth to twins, Oliver Andrew and Molly Jean, officially making Hulk Hogan a grandfather. Yet even this joy came with lingering family tensions. In March 2025, Linda Hogan posted a social media video claiming Brooke hadn't spoken to her in 8 years. The clip went viral. Soon after, Brooke responded with a lengthy statement accusing her parents of emotional, and at times physical, abuse, saying she had to close the door on the past to protect her mental health. Linda fired back, calling Brooke as narcissistic as her father, and even claimed Brooke once assaulted her while intoxicated. On July 24, 2025, Hulk Hogan passed away at age 71 from cardiac arrest in Clearwater, Florida. Brooke revealed she learned of his death through a message from Nick, a sign that the siblings had remained in contact despite their fractured family. In her tribute, she recalled the last time she spoke to her father in September 2023, when she simply told him, "I love you." Though many wounds remained unhealed, she expressed gratitude for having said those words before it was too late. Nick Hogan. Nick Beaulieu, born in 1990, is Hulk Hogan's only son. While Brooke had an artist heart, Nick was the thrill-seeker of the family, obsessed with speed, cars, and pushing limits. At just 16, Nick became one of the youngest professional drift racers in U.S. history, earning a Formula D license. Many believed he was destined to carry the Beaulieu name into a new arena beyond wrestling. But youthful recklessness changed everything. In 2007, at age 17, Nick was driving his yellow Toyota Supra at high speed through Clearwater. His passenger, 22-year-old Marine veteran John Graziano, was severely injured when the car lost control and slammed into a tree. Nick escaped with minor injuries, but Graziano suffered permanent brain damage and required lifelong medical care. The crash shocked the nation. Investigations revealed Nick had been cited multiple times for speeding, including once for driving 115 miles per hour in a 70 zone. In 2008, he pled no contest to felony reckless driving, receiving an 8-month jail sentence, 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and a 3-year driver's license suspension. As Nick faced legal consequences, the Hogan family unraveled. Hulk and Linda's 25-year marriage officially ended in 2009. The once beloved image of America's wrestling family now stood as a symbol of fame's darker side, where celebrity and tragedy collide. After serving his sentence, Nick distanced himself from fame and turned to music. He enrolled at Icon Collective in Los Angeles, a school known for producing top music producers. There, he studied mixing, mastering, and production, eventually finding his place in the DJ community. Nick later said that music became the only thing that helped me heal and move forward. In 2025, Nick married Tana Leah, a former adult film actress turned social media creator. During their intimate wedding ceremony, Nick emotionally said she was the one who pulled me out of the darkness, taught me responsibility, and helped me appreciate life again. Today, both Brooke and Nick have built lives independent of their father's fame. Brooke dedicates herself to design and motherhood, while Nick pursues music and enjoys a peaceful married life. Together, they've pieced themselves back together from the fragments of a turbulent past, not as Hulk Hogan's kids, but as individuals with their own stories. Though their paths differ, both carry the complex legacy of the Hogan name, a mixture of pride and pain, a reminder that fame can never replace peace. And perhaps, deep down, Hulk Hogan, the man who once made the world cheer, only ever wanted his children to find what he never truly had, a life of real happiness and serenity. 3. Umaga, when the Samoan legacy burns on in his son's veins. Umaga was more than a wrestler. He was a living storm inside the ring, a wild beast cloaked in war paint and fury. Weighing nearly 350 pounds, the Samoan bulldozer ruled the ruthless aggression era with unmatched dominance. His signature move, the Samoan spike, a taped thumb driven mercilessly into his opponent's throat, was fast, precise, and devastating. One strike was enough to silence even the unbreakable John Cena in their classic Last Man Standing match of 2007. Before his explosive solo run, Umaga was known as Jamal, one half of the tag team 3-Minute Warning, infamous for dismantling anyone Eric Bischoff ordered them to. Whether in tag action or singles competition, Umaga was a spectacle to behold, a giant who could leap off the ropes, twist midair like a cruiserweight, and slam with the force of an earthquake. He embodied the perfect storm of savagery, skill, and raw strength, a combination both terrifying and mesmerizing. But that same fire eventually consumed him. After violating WWE's wellness policy for the second time, Umaga was released in June 2009. Just 6 months later, tragedy struck. At only 36 years old, he suffered a fatal heart attack, brought on by a combination of painkillers and sedatives. The entire Anoa'i family, a dynasty that produced legends like Afa, Sika, Rikishi, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, was left in silence. A Samoan warrior had fallen, leaving behind 4 young children too small to grasp that their father would never come home. Among them, Zilla Fatu, his son, took the loss the hardest. Growing up in Houston, carrying the proud but heavy Anoa'i name, Zilla drifted off course. At just 15, he and his friends robbed a neighborhood store at gunpoint, landing him a 6-year prison sentence for armed robbery. Everything collapsed at that moment, Zilla later admitted. But I knew I either had to change, or die behind bars. Inside prison, Zilla began his transformation. He found solace in Islam, the same faith Umaga had quietly practiced in his final years. Between daily prayers and reading the Quran, he trained relentlessly in the art, rebuilding his body and discipline while learning to control his emotions. I wanted to make my father proud, he said. I couldn't let the Fatu name only be remembered through tears. When he was released in March 2022, Zilla was no longer the reckless teen who entered prison. He was calm, focused, and ready to rewrite his story, by walking the same path that made his father a legend, professional wrestling. He enrolled at Reality of Wrestling, the Houston-based promotion founded by Booker T, a training ground that had produced some of wrestling's brightest prospects. Booker quickly recognized the raw potential in the young man, placing him under the guidance of veteran trainers to refine everything from fundamentals and ring psychology to mic skills. Zilla spent hours studying tapes of his father, analyzing each move, every strike, and even the primal roars that shook arenas. He adopted the essence of the Samoan spike, but molded it into his own version, faster, colder, and controlled. Gone with the face paint and war cries, Zilla chose simplicity, letting his piercing gaze become his weapon. In July 2023, Zilla made his in-ring debut. As he raised his taped thumb and charged forward with his finishing strike, the crowd erupted, chanting, "Umaga!" The moment felt almost spiritual, like his father's spirit was watching from above, smiling as his son carried the torch. Booker T later called him a global star in the making. Zilla replied simply, "This is just the beginning." His dreams now reach far beyond the ring. Zilla hopes to wrestle in Japan, Mexico, and Europe, anywhere the Anoa'i bloodline has ever left its mark. Half joking, half serious, he once said, "One day, I'll buy WWE." The line drew laughter, but also echoes of a prophecy, because 3 decades ago, another young Samoan named Dwayne Johnson had said almost the same thing. Creative differences eventually led Zilla to part ways with reality of wrestling, but he didn't stop. Today, he competes for Game Changer Wrestling, GCW, and several independent promotions across Texas. He drives himself to shows, carries his own gear, negotiates his pay, and saves every dollar, a hard-learned independence his father never had the chance to teach him. Fans follow his rise with a mix of curiosity and hope, watching as another branch of the great Anoa'i family tree begins to grow. From High Chief Peter Maivia, the root of the Samoan dynasty, to Roman Reigns and the Usos dominating the modern era, that lineage continues to evolve. And now, among its youngest branches stands Zilla Fatu, 24 years old, no paint, no war cry, yet carrying the full weight of history, pride, and a promise left unfulfilled by his late father. 4. Ashley Massaro, the spotlight and the price of fame. Ashley Massaro burst onto the WWE scene in 2005, winning the $1 million Diva Search competition after outshining more than 8,000 hopefuls. With her edgy beauty, skater girl style, and rebellious attitude, she quickly became the face of a new era. Just 2 weeks later, she debuted on Monday Night Raw, clashing with Tori Wilson and taking a powerbomb from Victoria, even though she hadn't yet mastered the basics of wrestling. By January 2006, Ashley found herself on the grand stage of WrestleMania 22, teaming with Trish Stratus against Mickie James and Victoria. From complete rookie to WrestleMania performer in mere months, it was a meteoric rise that came with tremendous pressure. But success arrived faster than her body could handle, leaving scars that never fully healed. During a match with Tori Wilson in February of that same year, Ashley fractured her fibula. Despite the pain, she kept performing, enduring severe back spasms and recurring injuries. Later in 2006, during WWE's tribute to the Troops tour in Iraq, she suffered a concussion after a brutal clothesline. From then on, she often appeared with pink athletic tape around her wrists and ankles, a silent signal that her body was breaking down, even as she smiled for the crowd. In 2007, WWE sent her to China to participate in Survivor China, the show's 15th season. She lasted only 10 days before dysentery forced her to withdraw, losing 15 pounds in the process. Returning to WWE visibly thinner, her health became the subject of widespread concern among fans. By 2008, Ashley requested her release from WWE to care for her sick daughter, Alexa. Behind that decision, however, lay years of untreated injuries, depression, and mental exhaustion. Once she left the spotlight, she faded almost completely from public view. In 2016, Ashley reappeared in headlines when attorney Konstantin Karos filed a class action lawsuit against WWE on behalf of over 50 former wrestlers. She was among them. In her sworn statement, Ashley accused the company of concealing the long-term risks of repeated concussions. She detailed symptoms such as migraines, memory loss, and insomnia, and also revealed that she had been sexually assaulted during WWE's 2006 Kuwait tour. According to her, WWE privately apologized but urged her to remain silent to preserve relations with the U.S. Department of Defense. WWE denied all allegations. In 2018, the case was dismissed on procedural grounds, but Ashley did not stop speaking out. On Twitter, she shared her struggles with insomnia and chronic pain. On Instagram, she wrote haunting lines like, "Some days, the ring bells still echo in my head." Her words read like whispers from a spirit that couldn't rest. On May 16, 2019, Ashley missed a scheduled radio interview. Friends who went to her Long Island home found her unresponsive. The coroner confirmed that she had died by suicide. She was 39 years old, leaving behind her 18-year-old daughter, Alexa, suddenly alone to face the aftermath of her mother's suffering. When the news broke, the wrestling world mourned deeply. Former colleagues auctioned Ashley's gear to help cover funeral costs. Fans worldwide donated over $100,000 to fund Alexa's college education, a final act of love for a woman who had given everything to her dream. WWE aired only a brief tribute before moving on with the show. Meanwhile, Alexa was still finishing her final exams. She quietly completed high school through distance learning, far from the spotlight that had once consumed her mother. After graduation, Alexa signed with a small modeling agency in Manhattan. She began shooting urban fashion campaigns in Brooklyn warehouses and walking independent runways during New York Fashion Week. Her Instagram account is private, with fewer than 2,000 followers. Beneath a black and white photo, she once wrote, "Some things I keep for myself. My story isn't for sale." Those 10 words draw a line between the quiet world of fashion and the brutal glare of WWE fame. Alexa has never commented on the lawsuit, her mother's final days, or the memorial video WWE aired. Friends say she processes grief through photography classes and late-night bike rides along the Hudson River. In one photo, she wears her mother's silver lip ring, a silent tribute only longtime fans would recognize. 5. Eddie Guerrero, the unfinished legacy and the journey of his daughters. When fans hear the name Eddie Guerrero, they can never forget the shock of 2005, when the Latino Heat legend suddenly passed away at the age of 38. He embodied charisma, wit, and fiery passion, a true artist inside the squared circle who made audiences roar with his iconic phrase, "I lie, I cheat, I steal." Eddie wasn't just a brilliant performer, he was a symbol of resilience. He fought through years of addiction, depression, and unrelenting physical pain. Just as life seemed to be turning brighter, his heart gave out in a Minneapolis hotel room. The official cause was acute heart failure, brought on by years of exhaustion and emotional strain. His death sent shockwaves through the entire wrestling world. Fans wept, arenas fell silent, and WWE paid tribute with standing ovations and heartfelt memorials. It became clear that Eddie Guerrero was more than a wrestler, he was a hero to millions. WWE later honored him in the Hall of Fame, ensuring his name would forever live on as one of the sport's most beloved icons. Beyond the bright lights and roaring crowds, Eddie was a devoted father and loving husband. He married Vicky Guerrero in 1990, and together they had 2 daughters, Shaul Marie and Sherilyn Amber. During a period of separation, he fathered another daughter, Kaylee Marie. After his passing, these 3 women became living extensions of the Latino Heat legacy he left behind. Shaul Guerrero. Eddie's eldest daughter, Shaul, was the first to follow in his footsteps. Fueled by passion and determination, she joined WWE's developmental territory, Florida Championship Wrestling, in 2010. Wrestling under the name Raquel Diaz, she was praised for her charisma, ring presence, and that unmistakable Guerrero spirit in every move she made. But her journey was not easy. The pressures of the industry, combined with an ongoing battle with an eating disorder, forced her to step away in 2014. After years of recovery, Shaul returned to the public eye stronger, bolder, and more self-assured. In 2016, she married fellow wrestler Aiden English, forming one of the most respected couples on the independent wrestling scene. Though she no longer competes in the ring, Shaul remains active in the wrestling world as a commentator, ring announcer, and occasional guest trainer. Outside of wrestling, she found another stage for self-expression, performing burlesque shows in Chicago, where she channels her confidence and artistic spirit. In every performance, she carries the same spark her father had, the mark of a true Guerrero, no matter the platform. Sherilyn Guerrero. Unlike her older sister, Sherilyn chose a quieter path. After finishing school, she moved to Houston, Texas, where she works as a client coordinator and medical aesthetic specialist. She's also passionate about art and creative media, often exploring projects that allow her to express herself freely. However, life hasn't been without hardship. In 2020, Sherilyn made headlines when she revealed she had been assaulted by her mother's husband. The disclosure strained her relationship with both Vicky and Shaul, leading to a near-complete family rift. Rather than remain defined by trauma, Sherilyn chose to heal on her own terms, stepping away from public attention and rebuilding her life with quiet strength. She once said that even though she never stepped inside a wrestling ring, her father's resilient spirit runs through her veins, pushing her to rise above pain and keep moving forward. Kaylee Marie Guerrero. Kaylee, Eddie's youngest daughter, was only 4 years old when he passed away. She was too young to truly understand the love, energy, and greatness her father brought to the world. But as she grew older, Kaylee found her own way to connect with his legacy, through the world of art and creativity. By the age of 21, she had become a talented special effects makeup artist, with a particular passion for horror and fantasy. She loves creating visuals that blur the line between imagination and reality, much like her father once did in the ring. Kaylee may not have chosen wrestling, but she embodies the same Latino heat spirit, driven, passionate, and unafraid to be different. She has said that, although she didn't grow up with him, the stories, memories, and countless videos of Eddie online helped her realize that a legacy doesn't just live in fame, it thrives in the hearts of those who carry it forward through their own passions. Eddie Guerrero's passing at 38 left an unfillable void in the hearts of fans across the world. Yet, through Shaul, Sherilyn, and Kaylee, his flame continues to burn bright. Each daughter, in her own way, honors his memory, proving that while Eddie may have left the ring far too soon, his spirit, courage, and love live on through the family he adored and the legacy that will never fade. 6. The Ultimate Warrior, the legacy of belief and the hearts that carry it on. In April 2014, after 18 years away, the Ultimate Warrior returned to the WWE stage to thunderous applause. Fans who once knew him for his wild hair, brightly painted face, and frenzied sprint to the ring now saw a different warrior. His hair grayer, his eyes calmer, yet his spirit still blazing. Wearing a suit instead of his trademark armbands, he walked onto Raw, grabbed the ropes, and shook them fiercely, a symbolic gesture of power and belief that had never faded. Just 2 nights earlier, Warrior had stood at the WWE Hall of Fame, ending decades of tension with the company that had once fired him by fax. On that stage, he spoke of reconciliation, faith, and the courage to move beyond the past. The following night on Raw after WrestleMania 30, he delivered what would become his final message, his voice low and reflective. Every man's heart one day beats its final beat. A day later, while walking with his wife in an Arizona parking lot, that heart stopped. The Ultimate Warrior died at age 54, leaving behind shock, sorrow, and an everlasting legacy. Behind the fierce exterior, Warrior was a devoted father, softened, as his wife Dana Warrior once said, by the love of his daughters. His eldest, Indiana, often convinced him to join school volunteer projects, while his younger daughter, Madigan, invited him to watch Disney movies, something he once called nonsense. These moments turned the once intense Warrior into a gentle, attentive dad who cherished the simple things. They gave him a new heart, Dana recalled on Good Morning America, describing how Warrior practiced his Hall of Fame speech in their kitchen as the girls giggled at his dramatic gestures. After his passing, Indiana carried on his "always believe" mantra by choosing to serve others. She attended the University of Arizona, majoring in youth and community studies, and interned at a youth sports program for children with disabilities. Every morning, she runs stadium stairs at sunrise, a routine reminiscent of the grueling training sessions her father never skipped. Graduating in 2023, Indiana joined AmeriCorps, helping build playgrounds in underserved neighborhoods. She chose a life of quiet impact over public attention. Madigan, the younger daughter, studies psychology at UCLA, focusing on trauma and emotional resilience. She works at the campus counseling center, often taking overnight shifts during exam season, when students are most vulnerable. As a freshman, she wrote a deeply personal essay titled "The Mask We Inherit," exploring how the children of great figures must find their own identities rather than living beneath the weight of legacy. The piece moved many readers, reflecting both her grief and her determination to define herself beyond her father's shadow. The sisters appear publicly only on special occasions, at the unveiling of the Warrior statue during WrestleMania Access, the presentation of the Warrior Award, or charity events where they hand out gifts to children. Otherwise, they stay out of the spotlight. No interviews, no personal publicity. Instead, they focus on studies, community work, and hiking together along the Catalina Mountains, a place that makes them feel closest to their father. Dana Warrior now serves as WWE's community ambassador. She writes motivational essays, hosts women's empowerment panels during WrestleMania week, and maintains the Warrior brand through charity auctions. Though occasionally criticized for the contrast between her husband's controversial past statements and WWE's modern image, Dana calls her mission a living apology, using his legacy to inspire good. The family has refused any effort to brand a second-generation Warrior. For them, true legacy isn't in the roaring theme music or the ropes shaking in triumph. It's in quiet acts of kindness, funding scholarships, helping struggling students, and offering a listening ear to those in pain. Always believe is no longer a battle cry shouted in the ring. It's a life philosophy guiding their every step. In her eulogy, Indiana wrote, "My father's greatest victory wasn't at WrestleMania. It was the moment he learned to listen." For a man who once lived in chaos and spotlight, the most profound legacy of the Ultimate Warrior is the peace his family now protects. Steady, serene, and full of faith. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any more emotional stories from the world of WWE. See you in the next video from Wrestling Sphere.